Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. Last week in episode 131, we kicked off a series on creating systems and processes in your business. And you had an action item listing out all of the tasks that you completed last week. So I want to know, how did it go listing everything out? Did you find kind of any resistances, any frustrations? Did you notice any patterns about how you spend your time in your business throughout the week? Today, we are going to continue on our theme of systems and processes. We are going to dive deeper into our series, and specifically, we are going to explore the mindset that allows the systems that you put in place to flourish, a mindset of embracing change, of seeking efficiency, and of being patient with the progress and the process. I'm Dr. Moore, a college psych professor, homeschooling mom, and entrepreneur, and I've spent the past 10 years learning how to balance everything. Here on the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, I'll share the ins and outs of maintaining a growth mindset and saying hello to grit, that thing that will get you to your long-term vision despite challenges and busy schedules. After all, you got into business to do more good in the world, right? So let's get started. When we start to explore new things and approaches in our business, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like it's really easy for mindset to throw up some roadblocks. After all, we really like to keep ourselves safe, and it goes back to the days when we needed to avoid being eaten by lions, right? So we kept ourselves safe. We did what we knew. We did what was familiar. But I would encourage you to thank that inner voice that's been working to keep you safe, and then ask it if perhaps creating systems and processes might actually make your life and your business just a little bit better. And in that mindset, it's going to keep you safer, right? If you can create systems and processes that make your business and life better, then ultimately they are actually going to keep you from being eaten by the lions. Okay, but one of the first challenges that business owners face when trying to implement systems and processes is a resistance to change. We like to keep the status quo. It's an ingrained human trait. We feel discomfort when we veer from the norm, our norm, whatever that is. For example, you might have a certain way of handling customer inquiries that has worked fine for you so far. And the thought of shifting that to a new system, maybe it's a new tech system, maybe it's a new process, maybe it's an automated response that you implement. Maybe shifting or switching to a new system feels a little bit unnecessary or maybe even risky. After all, what you've been doing works. But what if I told you that an effective system could not only handle those inquiries, but also do it in half the time, which would free you up to focus on other tasks? When you can create a mindset that overcomes this resistance that you're feeling, when you acknowledge the fear, when you highlight and understand the benefits, then you are better able to take that first leap of faith into the change that, in all reality, may really make your business a lot better. And I'll give you yet another example. One of the things that I've been really resistant to using is AI in my business. As a college professor, I very much value the creativity and the originality that comes from the writing process. I love it when my students turn in something that is imperfect, but is uniquely theirs. That is an insight into what they understand, how they're implementing their knowledge. I don't care that it's not perfect. I don't actually expect perfection from my students. I would much rather there be imperfections and this personality, the unique approach to understanding the concepts that they're learning, than something that is perhaps AI generated and very generic. But as the world shifts more toward AI, I can't be left behind. I have to at least understand how AI can be used and is being used. So I found a balance of what I love and what the world is expecting these days, with really everything's AI generated, right? So I create my own content, but then I use AI to help me refine a title or maybe to suggest a theme that I want to go with over the next few pieces of content that I'm creating. Sometimes I'll use it to help create a summary of my own content. And so this resistance to using AI in my business is now turning into a concept and a mindset of working smarter and more efficiently. And speaking of efficiency, at their core, systems and processes are all about improving efficiency. But in order to truly leverage that, you have to really adopt a mindset that constantly seeks ways to operate better. Suppose you have an online store and you're spending a lot of time processing orders manually. Well, with an efficiency mindset, one that says, I'm going to find the straightest path forward, I'm going to figure out how to make it so that the process is as lean as possible without cutting corners. With that efficiency mindset, instead of accepting that you have to process orders manually as an unavoidable part of your work, you are going to be driven to find a system or a software that could automate most of that process. And that can save you valuable hours each week. And I can already hear some of you groaning saying, but when I process orders manually, I can put a handwritten note in. And I'm not saying that you let go of those personal touches. I'm saying let systems and processes do all of the rest of it so that you have more time to put those personal touches in place. Perhaps you would love to send a thank you note or a handwritten thanks, Maura, on the invoice, but because fulfilling orders takes so long, you don't always have enough time to scrawl your name on the invoice that you put into the shipping box, or to write that quick little thank you note or the postcard that you want to put in with their order. If you have systems and processes in place or a software that can do this for you, then that's taking care of 98% of the work, and you're just doing 2% of it now. And you have plenty of time to add that personal touch. One of the things that, as you start to implement systems and processes with this eye toward efficiency, with this eye toward really looking at the ways change could actually benefit you, is that you have to be patient. How many of you are patient? Are you patient? I'm not always the most patient person in the world. I try to be. It's something I'm learning and growing into. But implementing systems is not an overnight thing. It's about making small, consistent improvements over time. So let's say you are a freelance graphic designer, or you're a freelance marketing and messaging specialist, or you are a freelance fill in the blank, and you decide to systematize your client onboarding process. So that process that your clients are going to go through every time they sign on the dotted line and say, yes, I'd like to work with you. You might start by creating a standardized project brief form. So just something that lets them know, here's what's happening, here's what's coming up, this is the process that's in play and what you can expect. Instead of creating one from scratch every single time, now you can use that template and just customize the pieces that need to be customized. Then you could develop a system for scheduling and conducting initial client meetings. So once that form goes out and both you and your new client sign that form, it kicks off an email automation. And the email automation says, hey, let's schedule our first meeting. Here's the worksheet I need you to complete ahead of time. You can submit it here and schedule your meeting here. So you're not having to say, oh, I've got to watch for that form to come back, and then send the email with the scheduling link and the form to fill out prior to our meeting. You're saying, that's taken care of. The system picks up when the form is submitted, that signed client form. It's going to kick off the email for me. Over time, what you're going to notice is these kinds of small changes, they add up to a fully systematized onboarding process that not only saves you time, it's going to save you energy. And unless you are operating on an absolutely limitless amount of energy and time, this is going to help your business thrive. Having a systematized onboarding process, for instance, can help your business thrive. The key is to be patient because, as you can imagine, you are going to implement these systems in incremental processes, which means you're going to have incremental wins. Those wins may feel really small as they're happening, but when you look at the big picture and stay committed to the process, what you'll see is that you end up with a business that is just a little bit easier to run. You're going to see a big shift in that win from start to finish. Okay. So we really need, as we're starting to think about mindset in terms of creating systems and processes, we have to be aware that we can oftentimes feel a little bit of resistance to change. That's normal, but it doesn't have to be the norm. We can recognize it, thank our minds and our bodies for keeping us safe this long, and say, you know what, let's try something else for right now. We are going to have to remember that as we start to seek systems and processes, that it is a point of fact that we will get more efficient. Doesn't mean we'll be efficient in the beginning. So you might expect a little bit of challenge in there, and your mindset might be saying, this is not actually helping me. I'm just going to throw it away. I'm going to give up on this system. But I would encourage you to know that at their core, systems and processes are actually about efficiency. And if you give them a chance and you start to hone them and adjust them, you will get to that point of efficiency. And then third, we talked about the fact that implementing systems and processes, oh my gosh, it requires patience, because we are not flipping a light switch on and in seeing all of the changes and all of the efficiency happening as a result of that system and process right away, because it's going to take, like I said, honing, adjusting, and you're going to implement things bit by bit. So celebrate every single incremental win. Now, because today's episode is all about the mindset involved to help you really start embracing the concept of systems and processes, I want you to focus on your action item for this week. I don't want you to wait. I want you to go ahead and step into the change process here. And here's what you can do this week. I want you to pull out last week's list of tasks that you made. Now, if you are listening to this episode and you are saying, I didn't listen to last week's episode, head back to episode 131, where we talk about systems and processes, very start of this series. Make your list and then come back here. But for those of you who already have your list of tasks that you made last week, the ones that you perform over and over again, I want you to spend 15 to 20 minutes reflecting on the mindset needed to systematize these tasks. I want you to ask yourself, where are you experiencing resistance to change? Is it with a specific task? Is it with all of the tasks? And I want you to think about why. Like I told you in my example with AI, I told you that I was resisting AI as a way to help create a process in moving my content through different stages of readiness to be put out into the world. I said that I really love the creativity, the originality, and the imperfection of handwritten stuff that we're writing on our own without the assistance of AI. So I had to really work through that. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, how can I seek efficiency in these tasks? Because we want to make sure we are keeping efficiency at the front and center of our conversations and of our processes as we think about what can be done in our business. And then third, I want you to think about what small improvements you can make immediately. And then which larger changes are going to be implemented over time. So I want you to find this week one little thing that you could go ahead and implement. Maybe it's setting up an email automation that kicks off after your client's contract gets submitted. Maybe it is simply having a bank of topics that you always discuss, and you kind of put them into a rotation for your social media, for podcasts, for emails, for whatever it is you're creating inside your business. Look for one small thing you could go ahead and implement this week to improve your efficiency and move you toward creating systems and processes that allow for longevity in your business. The goal here is to pay attention each step of the way and identify any mindset blocks that are perhaps stopping you from taking action, and then create a plan for adopting a systems mindset. Remember, the change is going to start from within you. So we can create all of these systems, but until we accept in an inner focus that systems and processes are a good thing, they are not taking away the humanity of our business. They are not taking away the personal touch. They are designed to allow more of that so that we're not spending as much time on the stuff that really can be automated and systematized. It gives us more time for zone of genius work. It gives us more time for reaching out and personally connecting with clients and potential clients. It is really implementing systems and processes is a crucial step toward building a business that you love that can stand the test of time. Okay. All right. To sum up today's episode, we want to make sure that we are really cultivating the right mindset. It's key to successfully implementing systems and processes. It's about overcoming the resistance that we might have. It's about seeking efficiency and not feeling like we're letting go of the personal touch in doing so, and in being patient with the process and the progress that we make towards systematizing things in our business and setting up those processes. Your action item for this week is to reflect on where you might be resisting change. Notice that, what comes up for you. I will never forget, oh my gosh, I'll never forget telling someone that I really love editing my podcasts because it's easy. I was resisting change. I didn't want anyone else to just take it over. And the fact of the matter is that if I had let someone take over at the editing of my podcast sooner, then that would buy me back 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even an hour a month that I didn't have to worry about my podcast other than just simply recording it. Yes, I can edit my own podcast. I can put in all of the stuff. I can create the show notes. I can create the transcripts. I can do all of that without a problem. And I do think you should be able to do all of the different things in your business with at least a modicum of proficiency. But it doesn't mean you have to keep doing it when the time comes that you really ought to be spending your time on something else. So don't resist. And if you do resist implementing those systems and processes, kind of reflect on how you can seek more efficiency in your business and look for those places, because that's where you can make the small improvements right now. And then make the bigger ones as you go along. I just want to thank you guys so much for listening in. I hope this was helpful to talk about mindset in terms of systems and processes. A lot of times we get into the nitty-gritty details of how to create a system, that we have to remember that a lot of times our body and our mind try to prevent change from happening. We get that kind of fear in us, and we're trying to protect ourselves from being eaten by the lions. But thank that part of your body for keeping you safe, that part of your mind for keeping you safe, and say, I recognize you, and now I want to move beyond, and starting to see what small things you can do to make that happen. If you found today's episode helpful and valuable, I would greatly appreciate it if you would take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and also leave a review. Let me know what stuck out for you, if you're experiencing any resistance to changes and adding in systems and processes. And then I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, where a focus on mentoring, community, and implementation removes the overwhelm of building your successful and profitable business and adds in a dose of momentum. Until next time, have a healthy, safe, and happy week.